Hello everybody and welcome to another Elder Scrolls Online roll video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we're taking a look at the damage dealing side of the Lich Mother, and you guys can choose for yourselves if this is something you'd like to play. Let's get started. So taking a look at the race, we are a Breton Necromancer. That's going to give us a really good way to have resource management with this. We have 64 into Magicka, 35k Magicka, 27k health, 13k stamina, 2311 spell damage with a 49% spell critical. We do have 18k spell resist with a 15k physical. We are in heavy armor. We are using the Thief Mundus Stone with vampirism and the dual staff blue food, which I'll show you in a sec. So moving on to this section of the character, we are using the power pots. This is the one that gives you Magicka, magic recovery, and major sorcery, major prophecy. And then down here we are using the Mistral banana bunny hash to give us the max health and Magicka for the character. Going over the monster set, we are using Nirnith's helmet. This is going to give us max health, and then the two-piece, when we deal damage, direct damage, you have a 10% chance to summon a Lich Crystal that will explode after 2 seconds, dealing 11,528 magic damage to all enemies within 4 meters. Really good for AoE damage and stuff. So we are using the helm and shoulders of this. One heavy shoulders, medium helm, and then on the body we are running Julianus in heavy. And as you can see, this gives you 2-piece spell critical, 3-piece max Magicka, 4-piece critical, 5-piece spell damage. This is going to help boost your spell damage and your ability just to deal damage overall. And as you can see, we with this we are wearing a light belt and the rest of it is heavy. This is going to give us a greater benefit in resources. Moving on to the jewelry, we are using 2 trirune jewelry pieces with spell damage on them. And then on the necklace we are using a spell cost reduction. Now remember, everything I'm showing you is just a suggestion. These are just ideas that you can play with. You don't have to use this exact build or setup. On the staff, we are using a Shulk's Inferno staff. This is Nirnhoned. The reason you want to make a Nirnhoned is to make your spell damage even higher on the front bar. This way you can take advantage of it. And we do have a life drain enchant on here with spell magic damage and health restore. As you can see, the Shulk set gives you max health, spell damage, a spell critical, and then minor heroism at all times while you're in combat, generating 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds. And then down here on this other staff, we're using a lightning staff with a weapon damage enchant infused. Now on the gear, we are running 3 infused with tri-stats. This is going to give us that well-balanced resource pool, so if we need to be a tank, a healer, or damage dealer, we can do that. And that's also why we have the 2 tri-runes down here, is to help balance that out. And then on the smaller pieces, we are using Divines with Magicka. This is why we can take advantage of that Mundus Stone, the Thief, and actually get more critical out of it. And we can reach that 49%, almost 50% critical in heavy armor. Okay, now that you guys have seen all the gear, the traits, and all that stuff, let's move on to skills. So taking a look at the skills, starting with our class skills, make sure you unlock all the passives and the skills you would like to use on your character, because you never know what you're going to take advantage of and when you might need it. So, weapons, Destruction Staff. Since this is purely a Magicka build, you're going to want to unlock Destruction Staff and Restoration Staff, because you never know what kind of skills you're going to want to use. On the armor passives, Light Armor, Grace, this reduces the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 4%. Evocation reduces your magic recovery by 4% for each piece of light armor equipped and reduces your cost of magic abilities. This applies to you being a Breton. And then we have Spell Warding, increasing your spell resist by 363 for each piece of light armor equipped. We are wearing 1 light, 1 heavy, and 1 medium with this build. Medium, don't really need these top 2, but in case you do decide to hybridize a character and you want to use stamina abilities, you can, and you can take advantage of this here by doing so. Moving on to the real one that we're really concerned about. Increase your movement speed by bonus of sprint by 3% for each piece of medium armor, and reduce the roll dodge cost by 4% for each piece of medium armor equipped. These ones, like I said, these are more focused for stamina, so increase weapon damage, or weapon critical, and then increase your stamina recovery and reduce your stamina costs. Heavy armor focus is the type of the build that this is it focuses into heavy armor. So that's why we have all the heavy armor filled out. You can choose to use one of these if you so choose to have a defensive buff that costs you Magicka or stamina instead of Magicka. Resolve increases your physical and spell resist by 362 for each piece of heavy armor equipped. As you can see, 1,811. Constitution increases your health recovery by 4% for each piece of heavy armor equipped, 20%. And you also restore 108 Magicka stamina when you take damage for each piece of heavy armor equipped. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds, giving you 541 Magicka and stamina every 4 seconds. Juggernaut increases your max health by 2% for each piece of heavy armor equipped, 10%. Revitalize. When 5 or more pieces of heavy armor equipped, increase your Magicka and stamina return of your heavy attacks by 25%. And then Rapid Mending. When 5 or more pieces of heavy armor equipped, increase your healing received by 8%. World skills. Soul Magic. Soul Summons allows you to receive one every hour without spending, or revive once every hour without spending a soul gem. And then Soul Lock, killing an enemy with a weapon ability has a 10% chance to automatically fill an empty soul gem. We are a vampire, and you can choose to use some of these ultimates or abilities if you so choose, even as a damage dealer, tank, or healer. And then moving on to the Fighters Guild. Because we're Magicka based and not stamina based, we don't need to unlock everything, but 2 of these abilities are really good for us. And you can unlock the ultimate if you so choose. Mages Guild, unlocked all the passives. And on the Fighters Guild passives, Intimidating Presence and Banish the Wicked are really good for what they do. Mages Guild, we unlocked all the passives and the skills that we want to use for whatever reason. Psijic Order did the same thing, unlocked all the skills we'd want to use and the passives so we can take advantage of them. Undaunted, get all the passives and also make sure you unlock the skills you would like to use. Moving on to Assault. Again, skills you would like to use to unlock them so you can take advantage of them. Breton, Gift of Magnus, increases your max Magicka by 2,000. Spell Attunement increases your spell and spell resistance by 2,310. This effect is doubled if you are affected by Burning, Chilled, or Concussed. Increases your magic recovery by 100. And then we also have reduced the cost of Magicka abilities by 7%. With the extra 2% from wearing 1 piece of light armor, that's a 9% reduced cost. That's almost equivalent to that of wearing light armor, or 5 pieces of light armor. Crafting, Alchemy, Medicinal Use, and Provisioning, Gourmand, and Connoisseur. Like I said, everything here is just by choice from me. You can choose how you want to put it together. You don't even have to play in heavy armor. You can play this in light armor because Julianus is a craftable set. And if you even wanted to go stamina, you could craft Hunting's Rage in medium armor and still take advantage of the 2 sets in combination and still play it to the effectiveness of what the game will allow. Excuse me. Alright, now going over the last passives real quick, the medicinal use and the provisioning ones, Gourmand and Connoisseur. The reason why you're going to use these, this is Gourmand and Connoisseur is going to allow your food to last longer. The Potion Alchemy one is going to allow you to be able to use your potions more often. So it reduces their timer on them. Now, going over the skills we have on our bar. Starting with the first skill, we have Elemental Weapon. This infuses your weapon with power, causing your next light attack used within 2 seconds to deal an additional 8,017 magic damage and apply Burning, Concussed, and Shield elemental status effects. If the power is not consumed in time, regain a portion of your resources spent. Next up, we have Ricochet Skull. Lob an explosive skull at an enemy, dealing 8,117 or 8,017 flame damage. Every third cast of this ability deals 20% increased damage with a bonus of up to 2 times to other nearby enemies. We have Crushing Shock. This does flame, frost, and shock damage all at an equal amount, and it also can interrupt casting enemies and set them off balance and stun them for 3 seconds. We have Mystic Siphon. Violently drain the last spark of life from a corpse, dealing 24,876 shock damage over 12 seconds. To all enemies around the corpse and between you and the corpse. You also restore 2,844 Magicka over 12 seconds while siphoning the corpse. While slotted, your damage is increased by 3%. That's why we have it on the front bar and only the front bar. On the back, or on to the next ability, sorry, Inner Light. This is here to increase our spell critical and to give us 5% increased max Magicka, but because we have the passives in the Mages Guild skill line, we actually go to 7% max Magicka. And we have Colossal, or Glacial Colossus as an ultimate. This one unleashed a frostbitten Colossus that pulverizes the enemies in the area. The Colossus smashes the ground 3 times over 3 seconds, dealing 9,754 frost damage with each smash. The final smash stuns all enemies hit for 4 seconds. Each smash applies major vulnerability to the enemy hit for 3 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 30%. It's a really good ultimate for maxing out DPS in your group. Onto the back bar, we have Unnerving Boneyard. This allows this one desecrate the ground at the target location, dealing 24,827 frost damage over 10 seconds, and applying major breach and major fracture to enemies, reducing their spell and physical resist by 5,280. Consumes a corpse on cast and deals 20% more damage. An ally standing in the graveyard can activate a Grave Robber synergy, dealing 11,826 frost damage to enemies in the area and healing for the damage done. Healing you. Next one, Blockade of Storms. This is just there for damage over time. Slam your staff into the ground to create a storm barrier in front of you, dealing 1970 shock damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second, and setting consumed enemies off balance for 5 seconds. Next ability we have is another AoE. We have Storm Pulse. Release a surge of storm energy, dealing 6,111 shock damage to nearby enemies and inflicting them with minor mangle, reducing their max health by 10% for 33 seconds. Skeletal Arcanist. Unearth a skeletal mage from the dirt to fight by your side for 16 seconds. The mage attacks the closest enemy every 2 seconds, dealing 2,373 shock damage to them and all other enemies nearby. Creates a corpse on death. And then we have our Inner Light again for the max magic and major prophecy. And our last one is the Eye of Lightning. Create a cataclysmic storm above you that builds after 2 seconds, then lays waste to all enemies nearby, dealing 6,309 shock damage every 1 second for 7 seconds. It's a really powerful AoE for damage. And that is our skills. Now we're going to go over to our CP and take a look at those. As you can see, I did reset them for this particular setup. We do have 66 in Ironclad, reducing damage taken from direct damage attacks by 22%. Moving on over here, we have 31 into Thick Skin, reducing damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. 56 into Hardy, reducing damage taken from physical poison, disease damage by 12%. And then Elemental Defender, reducing damage taken from flame, frost, shock, and magic damage by 12%. Moving on over here, we have 40 into Bastion. In case we want to use a damage shield, this increases the effectiveness of those damage shields by 16%. We have 19 into Quick Recovery. This increases our healing received by 5%. We are in heavy armor. We can take advantage of that, so it's beneficial. And then 2 into Heavy Armor Focus, because just to kind of try and equalize our physical and spell resist. Moving on to the Green Tree, we have 40 into Warlord. This reduces your break free cost by 16%. 16 into Sprinter, reducing your sprint cost by 10%, and then 16 into Bashing Focus, reducing your bash cost by 10%. Moving on to the middle here, we have 43 into Arcanist, increasing magic recovery by 10%. 75 into Tenacity, this increases your magic and stamina for your fully charged heavy attacks restore by 14%. That applies also with the heavy armor passive, the 25%. 40 into Tumbling, reducing your dodge roll cost by 16% with the extra 4 that you get from the 1 piece of medium armor. That's a 20% reduced cost. And then we have 40 into Shadow Ward, reducing our block cost by 16%. Moving on to the final part of the blue tree, we have 43 into Bless, increasing healing done by 10%. This is in case you want to use a healing skill to help your group out. Next, you have Elfborn. This increases your critical damage and critical healing with magic abilities by 20%. We have 56 into Elemental Expert, increasing your Flame, Frost, Shock, and magic damage by 12%. Moving on to the middle tree, we have 35 into Staff Expert. This increases your damage done with light and heavy attacks with Destruction and Restoration staves by 20%, and then 40 into Master at Arms, increasing your damage done with direct damage attacks by 16%. The nice thing about the way this is set up is you can actually take advantage of the retaliation and butcher. Because anytime the enemy gets below 25% health, your light and heavy attacks are going to deal 5% more damage. And if any of those enemies do get that do a heavy attack on you, you block them, take 30% more damage. Moving on over here, we have 40 in the Thaumaturge, and this does unlock Opportunist, which when you interrupt an enemy, your next physical damage ability used within 7 seconds deals 15% more damage. We don't use physical damage, but it's still there. And that's it. So Thaumaturge increases your damage done with damage over time effects by 16%. And that is the CP setup for this. So I'm going to show you guys a quick rotation down here on this skeleton, and then we're going to show you a rotation on a more beastie target skeleton, and then we're going to take it into a dungeon. So this, what you'd want to do is drink a potion, drop your thing, drop your wall elements, pulse, there you go, 16,000 or 18,583 damage on that guy. And that's about the damage you'd be doing in a dungeon on a boss. Okay? That's because in a dungeon there's going to be 4 people. So, and this is what it'd be like if you were in a controlled group. So we're going to wait for the potion to recharge, and then we're going to activate it and go through the process again on the big flame astronaut guy, or iron astronaut. Here we go. Summon this. I could probably do better if I had a better setup of skills. I wouldn't lie. But as you can see, we got up to about 28k there, and that's not too bad, and we weren't even using the synergies to get our resources back. If we were using synergies and everything else, we could really take advantage of all that. So, alright, now let's see this thing in a dungeon. But before I do, I am going to change a few things around so I have a little bit better survivability while I'm in the dungeon, because I'm not with a group. Actually, I'm going to go with this heavy armor skill so I can give myself a resistance, slight resistance buff. And I'm going to go ahead and drop that. And then I'm going to, on the front bar, I'm going to drop this and grab myself a heal. And we're going to jump over to the Depths of Malatar, since it is one of the latest dungeons in the game. This way you guys can see what it's like. And yes, I am going in here on veteran mode, just to show you how this thing can work as a damage dealer. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say 28k damage isn't a whole lot. It's not. I'm not going to lie. But I'm also not the greatest with rotations and doing DPS. There's other people out there that can pull a lot higher numbers. And with the right sets, this thing could be a beast. It wouldn't be like uber damage, but it'd be good damage. It'd be probably closer to 40 to 50k. In the right hands. And the right sets. I mean, you could still run near death with it if you wanted to. Alright, so we're going to buff up. And I died. I knew I was going to. But there you guys go. That's the way you guys can see it. 32,000 damage to those guys is what I had done. I mean, like I said, I figured I would die because I wasn't taking advantage of like a damage shield and everything else. If I had a damage shield, it would have been a lot easier. I could solo this easily. And I could probably do it. In fact, let me try that. Let me try grabbing a damage shield. and see what happens here. So, and then I'm going to change out also my back bar. I'm going to change to the Mages Guild. I'm going to grab balance for my buff so I can have a way of keeping Magicka coming in. So. Oops. Bone shield. And that's it as damage dealing. Like I said, everything you do to this character to change how it plays is going to affect how effective it can be damage-wise. But I traded out damage for survivability just to show you that it can be done. So, and that is it for the Lich Mother. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And that is the damage roll. And if you did, you guys know what's coming next. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.